really related to business skills in management of protected areas. And that led to an idea that's been developed over the last few years. Again, I won't go into the detail here, but the challenge is that protected area management is often very weak. The key staff of protected areas often coming from biology or ecology skills and may not have the additional skills that are required in protected area management. So it's increasingly a recognition of the need to develop wider business planning competency to manage these assets. Since 2009, we've been running a business skills transfer program. And what I'd like to bring out here is that this is, again, an opportunity not to treat business as part of the threat, part of the problem, but as part of the solution, picking up something that I think Rafik touched on. It's not always about blaming businesses. UNESCO and Shell have developed a training toolkit for protected area management some years ago. And the idea is that if one of the roadblocks in protected area management is the lack of business skills, where better to look for those business skills than in major companies. And so we try to use the skills and resources of the private sector to enhance the management of World Heritage Sites with UNESCO. And the aim is to help these protected areas become self-sufficient, sustainable, and improve their effectiveness. Over the last 4 years, we've trained 44 managers from 15 World Heritage Sites, trained by staff from Shell, acting as their mentors. We've run this program for 2 years in Asia Pacific, 2 years in Africa. The staff of Shell apply annually to take part in the program. Best candidates are selected as business mentors. They go through an intensive trainer-trainer program facilitated by Earthwatch and Shell Foundation. And World Heritage Sites apply to join the program through UNESCO. We then run an intensive residential field training program for protected area managers, pairing them with mentors from business. And the mentors then stay and follow up with the protected area managers over the next 12 years and work together to develop the business plan and to provide support as it's needed. And so far, we're running a review now of this program with the aim to scale it up. We think it has significant potential. And we're glad to say we have seed funding from the Shell Foundation to launch a wider version of this program, which we intend to call the Earth Skills Network. And we hope to reach out beyond World Heritage Sites to protected areas worldwide, and to aim to work with a larger range of companies who would be interested in this type of initiative. And we're aiming to achieve financial sustainability for this program within 3 years, so that it runs essentially as a separate operation. That's just a diagram showing the basic concept of the selection of mentors, the training of mentors, the business skills transfer, and the ongoing mentoring process. What are the benefits of this? I think the benefits for the protected areas are potentially very obvious, although they need to be monitored very carefully, and I think we need to do a lot more work there to establish those benefits for protected areas. I think what's interesting is to look at it also for the companies that join such a scheme. What we're finding is that they see this as a benefit. They don't see this as a huge, it's not really a philanthropic process, but it has the potential to reduce business risk, improve license to operate, improve reputation, of course, but also to develop trust-based relationships with the protected area managers. It's a staff engagement and development opportunity and leads to definite benefits in terms of the experience of the mentors and their commitment to their organisation. So Shell Foundation is providing seed funding to set this up with a view to moving this towards independence quite rapidly. So far from the review that Pascals are carrying out, I don't have the full review results. More work is required with the World Heritage Sites during the review. We need to identify the factors that seem to support success in this type of programme. It's obvious that this only applies to a subset of protected areas, and we need to identify the factors that support that success. We need careful selection of sites and managers. They do need sufficient capacity to be able to absorb this mentoring process and make good use of it. And I think as we go ahead, it's likely that we may need to develop longer-term mentor-mentee relationship to ensure that the outcomes are embedded in the protected areas. Type of programme, the reason I felt that this is an interesting opportunity to put here is that it has benefits which may support a scaling up process. It treats business as a positive force and it values what business has to offer. It doesn't rely on a traditional corporate responsibility or philanthropy model, and the direct costs to the business are actually relatively modest. The main contribution comes from the mentor themselves. It's a significant burden for them to take on, but there's tremendous benefits professionally and personally. And the business also indirectly benefits through the growth of those staff. I feel it has the potential, and I don't say that this is something we've realised yet, to grow into a programme which acts as a broker to establish relationships between businesses and protected areas in the geographical regions where they operate, and providing long-term mentoring relationship which can go beyond this initial training program that we've devised. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'd like to call Mariam Kerman from NAE Program Manager for FSC, and it's our last presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm working for the FSC since about 20 years. In different positions. I started as a researcher and working for labor unions for FSC, and since 10 years I'm in the payroll of FSC in different positions again, and currently trying to describe FSC's impact on the ground. FSC was established in 1993, and the mission of FSC is to promote environmentally appropriate, socially beneficial and economically viable management of the world's forests. Today, 20 years later, 1,100 forest management units are certified. They cover together 160 million hectares of the world's forests. That's roughly 4%. It depends on what is defined as forest. And more than 80% of the certified area is located in the northern hemisphere, so the majority in the north. And when you look into the number of certificates, about 40% are issued in southern countries. We have 23,000 chain of custody certificates issued. That means these are those companies who can buy FSC certified material that they can sell it. Companies like sawmills, pulp mills, or printers. We have currently already 30 accredited certification bodies working with auditors to do the certification in forest management or in chain of custody. And we have 800 members in 70 countries, individuals and organizations like WWF, Greenpeace, Rainforest Alliance, but also labor unions and companies like Roadblocks and Tetra Pak. Okay. To deliver to our vision, we established a robust system. We set a standard with reflected principles for responsible forest management. We have a robust accreditation and certification system to monitor adherence with our standards. And CBs, such as those from Rainforest Alliance, control at least up there. In the middle, the certification bodies are monitoring the quality of the forest management against our standards, and the wood processing industry. And they come at least once a year to these organizations. And we have the Accreditation Services International, ASI of FSC, who is again monitoring the quality of the certification bodies at least once a year. If they find weaknesses, problems, they come more often. And this is, when they come more often, certification becomes more expensive. It's an incentive for certificate holders and also for certification bodies to maintain a high performance to avoid more surveillance audits. The paper says that I'm talking about factors contributing to the growth of FSC, but at the same time, it's I will also show you how factors contributing to the growth can limit our effect on the ground. FSC is bringing people together to jointly develop solutions. And these people are one of our core assets. We have a public reporting system for forest management certification processes, and also we invite stakeholders to develop with us standards. And this, we also invite our members to engage in our dispute resolution system. As soon as they discover mistakes in the system, they're invited to address it, and so that we know where the weaknesses are and how to fix them. FSC has a very unique governance structure, and we see it as our strong asset. And at the same time, when we invite for multi-stakeholder-based consultation processes, for chamber-balanced discussions, which end in consent, usually we don't vote and say 60% are in favor and the minority of 40% is not really happy with the decision. This is what we avoid. We try to go for consent, and we have transparent processes. All these stakeholder processes take time. It took us, for example, almost 4 years to revise the principle and criteria of FSC. This entire process of having stakeholders engaged is very important for us. At the same time, it takes time, so we cannot go as fast as we want in certain areas. Another thing, the impact assessment. We know that companies like Nespresso want to show results, how the standards impact positive or trigger positive development. This is, but because forestry is very complex, it's difficult to come to general conclusions. It would be nice and a good marketing tool for a market if you could quantify and summarize global impacts of certification. But so far we mainly have to refer to impacts on individual cases, as forestry differs from country to country and from management type to management type. From plantation, for example, cannot be easily compared with forest management in Western Germany run by small villages. Nevertheless, there are plenty of studies showing the values of certification, and to overcome this gap in availability of success stories in certification, we invite researchers all over the world to help us in doing studies. I mentioned the complex governance structure, and this governance structure is costly and time-consuming, but we do not want to do it without this governance structure. Another roadblock is the quality of forest management standards. We require a lot from forest managers. In many cases, it takes a lot of effort to comply with our standards. And one simple example is that in many cases in forest management, we ask the forest manager to produce less, to harvest less wood than usually harvested before, which is not at the first glance a win-win situation through certification. And this is even more frequently happening in countries with complex socio-political settings. We have especially where land tenure is not clearly defined, it becomes difficult for small owners to bring evidence that they have the right to manage a forest, and then it's a challenge for us to certify them if we don't know exactly that they have the right to use the land. Yeah, another problem is the payment for certification. The professional auditors have to be paid, and FSC cannot help with this direct investment. So I think that one way of overcoming roadblocks would be if the corporate sector in the north or in consumer countries who's looking for certified products would be able to find solutions to, or to change the thinking, to understand that helping small communities